Okay, so welcome to my second recorded M14 draft. We've opened here quite a simple pick. We're taking the Ajani. It's unfortunate that we've also opened a Sarah Angel, which means that we're probably going to be fighting over white in pack 2. Um, but the only alternative to these two picks would be to take the shock, and whilst that may be a better pick, the card or the individual card, the power of Vajani is just by far better than everything else in this pack. So it's clearly the Planeswalker, but we're not really happy that we're taking the Planeswalker but passing the Sarah Angel. And traditionally when I pick a Johnny I tend to lose in the first round, so we'll see if we can do better today. Okay, so again we've followed up Ajani with either the Chosen, which I think is probably the pick, or again the second shock. Um, it's almost certainly we're going to stay on color. We're going to pick the Chosen. Um, I guess I guess it's not the most powerful card in the pack, but it keeps us in white, and it does potentially allow us to pick other enchant creatures or auras slightly higher than we would normally. So I think this is almost certainly the pick. It's just unfortunate that we're kind of locked into white just by the rares we're being passed. I think if we were to pick either claustrophobia or shock, the person on our left would just solidify into white by taking the Chosen after the second pick, Sarah Angel. So yeah, I think we're going to be fighting over white in pack 2, but if we can cut white now, it might help us a little bit. Oh, and again, this is another very clear signal. I think we got fairly lucky in that the person on our right is trying to send us a white signal, and we luckily picked a pretty strong white card first pick. So we're in the right color. Banisher Priest is quite easily a first pick. However, there is a rare missing and a uncommon, so it's not outside the realms of possibility that a white rare or a white mythic was taken and then opportunity was in the pack as well. So it could be that one of the drafters on our right is in white, but it's incredibly unlikely after this signal. Worth noting as well what else is in the pack. So there is also the Quag Sickness, which does indicate that perhaps black is also being underdrafted on the right. So I think we'll just be aware of any other black cards we're being passed. Okay, well, there's no white cards in this pack, so we're going to have to make a decision on the color that we want to be in. I think perhaps black is the color to pair with our white. The blue we've been passed is not especially exciting. Probably the best blue card is the Phantom Warrior, and we already have 3 double white costed cards, so we don't really want to add the double costed blue card as our first off color pick. I think therefore the picks are either Giant Spider, a Cursed Spirit, or Ring Flesh. I think in this instance I'm going to go with the creature. I think depending on the deck that you're drafting, Ring Flesh and a Cursed Spirit are fairly close. However, in this particular deck it looks like we're going to be beating down, so the Accursed Spirit is getting the nod. And here we've just been past pacifism. I think this is another very clear white signal, so we're definitely in the right colour. Also worth noting that the Archaeomancer here is pretty late, so again blue looks like it could also be open. We may end up abandoning the Accursed Spirit pick. Okay, so here then we have 3 options. Then we can take the Mark of the Vampire, the Fortify, or the Accursed Spirit. The benefits of Fortify is it keeps us in mono white, which I haven't drafted before, but I can imagine mono white being a solid archetype, especially with the 1 mana instant to give protection to white creatures. that would seem like quite the beating if you're in a mono white creature deck. However, I think the Mark of the Vampire probably is the pick here, because we already have Ajani chosen. It's a playable enchant creature, and I think it just synergizes better with our deck. Okay, and there's Brave the Elements is the card I was looking for. So here again, we do have some options here. We can take the Death Gaze Cockatrice, which I think is probably the strongest card in the pack. The issue with this card being that it's double black, and we already are fairly heavily committed to white from the three first picks, or the three consecutive picks. The Ring Flesh is not terrible, and of course if I wanted to stay in mono white that would Brave the Elements, but I think I'm just going to go for power here and take the Cockatrice. Okay, well, again, just to bear in mind, if we were inclined, we could keep on to the mono white plan. We are getting past reasonable white pick slate. However, the black cards are also fairly powerful, so I think we're in the right colors, and I think here we probably want the early drop over the Diabolic Tutor. Diabolic Tutor can go and fetch Ajani or the Priest, or I guess Pacifism as well. However, I think at the moment we're looking fairly weak in the early slots, and I think Child of Night is probably the pick here. Okay, well that's quite interesting. I think based on these picks, we can pretty much say that the person on our right is in green-red. These two cards would probably not make it this far if the guy on the right was in blue, and the same goes for these, or at least for Vampire Warlord in black. We are going to pick the Warlord, but I think we can pretty much say for certain that the person passing to us is green-red. Okay, again, we have, I guess, another two options. I think I'm going to take the early drop here. We are playing a slightly more aggressive deck than I'm used to playing. We don't really have the number of creatures yet to justify taking the Fortify. So I think Sentinel Sliver is the pick here. Okay, and that's again a very late Corpus Mauler. It's a fine 2-drop, mainly because in the mid to late game it can bring back one of your higher costed creatures. So it's not a lot of 2-drops tend to be wasted in the mid to late game, but that one is not too bad. Then we're just going to take Dark Confident here. Sorry, Dark Favor. Dark Confident. Dark Favor may end up being played if just to synergize with Ajani's chosen. It's unlikely. It's not really very good on its own, but we may want it to interact with this card. Okay, well, this is an interesting pick. We have whoa, actually this is a very interesting pick. So the three cards we have available, we have Pacifism, we have Liturgy of Blood, and we have Siphon Sliver. I think here I'm inclined to take Pacifism, primarily because I think the strongest card in this pack is probably Liturgy of Blood. I think Siphon Sliver does have the potential to synergize with any other slivers we pick up, but the pick is probably between Liturgy and Pacifism. On power level, I would say Liturgy is probably better. However, in our deck, Pacifism is going to interact with the Chosen, and we want to be heavier white than we want to be heavy black. So we're going to take the Pacifism. There's also the point that another black drafter at the table can only take one of these two cards, so there is a chance that either the Liturgy, the Siphon Sliver, or the Tenacious Dead, which is also fine, and the Ring Flesh, one of these cards will table. So we'll take the Pacifism. Right, there's not really much for us in this pack. The pick is clearly the Charging Griffin. It's better than Nightwing Shade. These cards tend to go slightly later. But then aside from that, there's only really three options available to us. We're already committed to these colours. I'm just looking to see if we can find anything else from this pack. Yeah, we can probably tell the person on our left is not in green. There are still some strong green cards left. This also does mean that the person on our right that we're passing to now is going to just have his signals confirmed. So he's going to be solidified in green red. So we'll take this charging sliver and hope we get some better cards. And we don't. Okay, so right, this is awkward for us. We have a few options, which is either we're going to hate draft something, or we're going to take the sliver, or we're going to take the solemn offering. The sliver is not terrible. It blocks intimidate creatures, mainly this guy. And then solemn offering is also going to be decent against cards like sensory deprivation, claustrophobia, and then any of the aggressive enchantments like lightning talons or Shivan embrace. So I think in this pack, someone is going to get these two auras. I think the person on our right probably takes the Shivan embrace next. So there is going to be a deck playing the embrace, and possibly another deck playing talons. So I think offering is worth taking just to fight potentially against those decks if we do come up against them. Here then we have two options. We have the option of adding another sliver to our 2-drops. At the moment we're not really heavy on the sliver plan. We only have this one sliver, and I guess we're hoping that the lifelink sliver does table, though I think that's probably unlikely. We have double pacifism. We also have Mark of the Vampire. So I think Auramancer in this particular slot is probably better than Tenacious Dead or Sentinel Sliver. We don't have any sacrifice outlets except for the Warlord, which isn't really very exciting with Tenacious Dead. So so yeah, I think overall on power, I think Tenacious Dead would be the most powerful card in this pack. But I think in terms of synergy, I think the Auramancer is the pick. Okay, well, interesting. We have, I think, two real options here. We can take the Dawnstrike Paladin, which I rate quite highly, or we can take the Imposing Sovereign, which, to be honest, I haven't really played with very much. So I'm not too familiar with the power level of this particular card. I suppose this pick depends on if we want to be more aggressive or if we're going to be a more a mid-range deck. We do have some early drops. We have some low-costed removal. We have Ajani. We have Banisher Priest. We have Evasion. I think here the Imposing Sovereign is the pick. I don't think we need to look at filling up the top end of the curve yet. So the Sovereign we took. This is, oh wow, okay, well, as I was making that pick, I was thinking about if we could get some masses of diversion to solidify the beatdown plan, and here one is. And then I noticed that Mark of the Vampire, again, something that interacts with both our Auramancer and our Ajani's Chosen, and I was thinking, well, what's going to be between these two? And then I came across Quag Sickness, and this card is easily the pick here. But I can't say I'm especially happy to be passing both of these cards. I think all three would be playable in this deck. Oh, okay, well, we got another Mark of the Vampire and a Celestial Flare. Well, okay, so I think I'd want to take the Mark of the Vampire. I think Celestial Flare is probably better, although my experience of the card has not been great so far. But I think Mark of the Vampire is just going to significantly improve both the Chosen and the Auramancer. I think if you can reach a critical mass of enchant creatures, you make those cards much better than they would be with just 2 or 3. So yeah, here again, Elvish Mystic going incredibly late, so the person on our right will be pretty happy with what he's receiving in this pack. Mind Rot is playable. We're not going to hate draft the Mystic when we can just take this card, which can be useful in some matchups. And as we noted, or as I noted before, the pack which had the Siphon Sliver, the Liturgy of Blood, the Tenacious Dead, those three cards went, but we did get back the Ring Flesh. So if you remember this pack, we took Pacifism, the only white card, and left 4 decent black cards that we wanted, and we did manage to get one of them back. Here the option is to raid draft or to take the strong card. I think I've helped the guy on my right enough for one pack. I think I'm just going to hate draft the Rootwaller. I don't think Traumatize is worth anything, and no one's going to deck me with Traumatize, I say ominously. Here then I think Academy Raider is by far the best card in this pack. I have been beaten by Aura deck before, but I think I have enough cards to interact with creatures with auras, so Academy Raider I think is the better card to take. Here I think just naturalize. We have auras, we don't want them going to the graveyard prematurely, and yeah, okay, sure. Okay, we'll just round out these picks. Okay, so this deck not looking too bad. We'll just hide the Dark Favor. Okay, and we have the Sun Magus. Okay, so currently a fairly even distribution of black and white. We'll just take out the Solemn Offering, Sun Magus. Sorry, Staff of the Sun Magus. Okay, so wow, there's really nothing that we want here. Okay, so the options are, I'm just looking at the amount of lifelink cards we have. We have double Mark of the Vampire, which does interact well with the Angelic Accord. We also have Child of Night, but I don't think we have any way of, I guess we have Ajani, but if we're putting counters on Child of Night, we're probably already winning. So yeah, our only way of triggering Angelic Accord at the moment is just through putting Mark of the Vampire on something. I think this is an interesting pick. Its Deathgaze Cockatrice I think is probably the strongest card in the pack. However, I don't want to overload the 4-drop slot, which I guess would also be an argument against Angelic Accord. However, I'm not sure that Child of Night is really that important for what the deck is trying to do. I'm going to take a punt here and just pick Angelic Accord on the basis so we can get some cards that make it work. Oh, okay. Wow, okay, I'm not really sure which card is the better card here, the Reaver or the Angel. I guess we don't really have that much removal, and even though he has a wall of text, he is essentially just a 4/3 ground guy that can be blocked by plenty of creatures and traded with, whereas Serra Angel, Flying, Vigilance, 4/4, I think Serra Angel is the stronger card of the two. Quag Sickness does synergize better with our deck. Again, we have Ajani's Chosen, I keep mentioning this, but yeah, Quag Sickness would be nice, but I think we do also need some good creatures, and Serra Angel is just a very solid creature to take in this spot. So unfortunately we are going to pass the Quag Sickness. I don't think we're going to get either of these two back around, but we may end up tabling the Duress. Oh, okay, well, this is another interesting card. Ring of the Three Wishes I do like quite a bit. We have enough removal to kind of make it work, but then we also have Blightcaster, and 1, 2, 3... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 6 enchantments, I think, and Sengir Vampire I think is probably, I think objectively the pick would be Ring of Three Wishes or Sengir Vampire. I think Sengir Vampire might make the cut, just being the better creature. Ring of Three Wishes is incredibly slow. However, in this deck, I think I want to pick the Blightcaster just because of the synergy between what my deck is trying to do with enchantments, with Auramancer, with Johnny's Chosen. I think this is probably the pick. Oh, okay, and double Serra Angel. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, wow, this is another interesting pick. We have Blightcaster versus Quag Sickness. I think at this stage our mid game is pretty good already. We have a lot of synergy. I think what we want is we want to be able to get to that mid game. And as much as I would like the second Blightcaster, if you don't draw enchantments, it's just a 2/3 for 4. So I think I want the Quag Sickness over the Blightcaster here. Okay, right, there's nothing here that I really want. Soulmender, I don't think it's going to really do anything in this deck. I mean, we have Angelic Accord, but the 1 life is not going to get me up to 4 any quicker. Even if I've got this and Child of Night, that's only 3 life total. So, and then most of my creatures, I'm not playing any 1 power creatures, so anything with Mark of the Vampire is going to get me 4 life to trigger this. So Soulmender is not necessary for the Angelic Accord plan, at least not in this particular deck. And neither really are any of the other cards. I think what I want to take is probably the Negate. I think I'm playing a lot of enchant. I'm playing a lot of enchant creatures, enchantments, and I'd like to take away one of the blue cards that can interact with my game plan. Here, well, this is interesting. We have another enchantment, which I guess let's just count our enchantments at the moment. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so we have 7 enchant creatures. I don't think we're going to play Dark Favor just because we need it. I think we probably want the Gnawing Zombie. Yeah, I do like that card. It also offers you protection against threat and effects. Here, probably the Rod of Ruin. Here, I don't think we're really worried about any of these cards. One other thing to note is most of these staffs are unplayable, except I think the blue staff, which is incredibly playable if you were to play mono blue. I've played that deck, and the staff is one of the better cards for the mono blue deck. But I think I'm just going to rare draft here. There's nothing I really want to hate draft. I think if I were to hate draft, it would be the Verdant Haven, but I'm just going to take the rare. Okay, so we got the Duress back. There's also a Solemn Offering. I just want to check if I already have. Okay, so I don't already have a Solemn Offering, and these two cards already do the same thing. I think I'm going to take the Solemn Offering primarily because it interacts with Angelic Accord. So it's not unreasonable to main deck this card just to try to luck out an angel. Okay, we're going to take the Soulmender here, and the Author's Reap again, not a terrible card. Okay, we're going to just hate the Aura guy. Say Aura guy because this potentially is a deck having Gladecover Scout and Auras. Not a very good deck, but I've seen people play it. So that went fairly well. I think looking at our distribution of cards, we got quite a lot of picks in these colours, so we were definitely in the right colour combination, though white-black is not normally a colour combination I favour. Okay, so let's then just begin by putting in the cards that we're definitely going to play. Okay, so I've put in all the cards that I would be fine with main decking. We have 28, so we have enough playables in this deck. Now we just need to cut down to 23 or 22. Just start by putting all the cards into creature and spell. I think what I'm also going to do is put them into creature, spell, enchantment. Okay, so we have some interesting synergies here. Well, this might be slightly difficult. I think I want to start with cutting the vampire warlord. It's I mean it's very good. It's a card that I like quite a bit, but I think it gums up our high end slots, and I don't think it really offers as much as some of the other cards do in terms of synergizing with the rest of the deck. So I think that would potentially be cut. I also think the Rod of Ruin again doesn't really advance our game plan very much. It does allow us to blight cast the things and then do the extra 1 damage to start taking out 3 toughness creatures. But again, I think that's something we'll come back to. Um, Death Days, Deathgate's Cockatrice I think is probably worth its place on power alone. Probably the same for Charging Griffin though. Yeah, I think Charging Griffin probably stays, and the same for the other 4 drops. I think all these 4 drops are pretty essential. Same for Auramancers, same for Banisher Priest. And then the early drops, I think Corpse Hauler is definitely going to stay. I guess it depends here if I want to be beating down. I think 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 15 creatures at the moment. I don't really want to play less than 15 because 2 of the auras I have are going to need targets to go on to. So it's going to be better for me if I were to keep more creatures in the deck. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think that perhaps Dark Favor probably leaves the deck. I know it's an aura and that it triggers Chosen Blightcaster and also gives a target for Auramancer. But I think I'm already confident with this particular suite of enchantments. I also need to kind of decide on Angelic Accord, and I think if Accord isn't in the deck, then also Solemn Offering needs to get on the list of things to be cut. So yes, I want to keep those particular creatures. I think the enchantment suite is fine. Mind Rot is going to depend on the curve of the deck. I quite like playing Mind Rot, so I think that's probably going to make the cut. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to put these up first, and then just look at what our curve currently looks like all together. Okay, so let's come back then to the. Well, we have 1 card that needs to be added. If we were to play the Angelic Accord, that's going to trigger off Mark of the Vampire, and then potentially Child of Night with an active gnawing zombie on the table. So is there anything else that it triggers? I guess it also triggers if Ajani gives this guy double strike. Okay, so we have potentially then, in terms of lifelink, we have 3 cards. We have 3 cards that can trigger the Angelic Accord. I'm not convinced that's enough, but then it does synergize with the Chosen and the Blightcaster. I think if we were to play Angelic Accord, I think I'd also want Solemn Offering in the main deck. I guess at worst it's going to... No, it's not going to target anything that I have, just for the... Or saying that, hang on. Yeah, no, it's not going to target anything I have. But I think there will be plenty of targets for Solemn Offering. I think most decks play an enchantment or an artifact, so... Yeah, if we play Angelic Accord, I think I'd want to play Solemn Offering, and then I'd probably need to cut one card. I think the one card I would cut would either be... Yeah, unfortunately I think it's going to be one of the higher drops, just to prevent me from being blown out too early by having too much high casting cost cards in my hand. It's going to be probably one of these 3 cards that gets cut. I guess I could also see Ring Flesh, or Sentinel Sliver. So I think one of these 5 cards is going to come out for Ring Flesh. Sorry, for Angelic Accord. No, I don't think I want to take out the Sliver. I think we want to... No, but that doesn't look terrible either. So what I'm doing at the moment is imagining that I have either 6 drops or 1 5-drop and just redistributing to make the... I mean, here it looks like my curve is pretty bad and that the 4-drop slot is cluttered. However, if you just redistribute, say Mark of the Vampires, you're not going to play them until about turn 6 anyway. You're not going to want to commit early on them. Then that curve doesn't look too bad. So, I mean, if we did that and then took out Sentinel Sliver and then did that instead, no, that would still not look fantastic. No, I don't think I want the Sentinel Sliver. I think I want Charging Griffin out of this deck. The reason being, let me just check. Yeah, the reason being that I think this deck is probably more mid-range than I anticipated it would be. So I think the Griffin is only going to amount to a 2/2 flying blocker, and the Cockatrice is the same, but it has Death Touch, so it's going to kill anything it blocks, whereas this is just going to be, I think, an inefficient use of mana. So I think we're going to put in Solemn Offering to synergize with the Accord, and yeah, I think that deck doesn't look terrible. It looks incredibly synergistic. I guess we'll see. We'll see how we go. 13 creatures, not too bad. It's probably less than I wanted, but okay. Well, we'll stick with that. The I guess the main thing that could go wrong here is we have a lot of double-costed white, and we also have the Cockatrice and the Quag Sicknesses, which require you to have a heavy black commitment. So I guess the lands might be an issue, but anyway, we'll go 9/8, and hopefully we can get there.